AEW is finally doing something right with Mercedes Mone. What does that mean? Well, I have come up with a bullet point system that I'm going to be breaking down every single thing you need to know about what AEW is doing with Mercedes and why I think we are finally on the right direction with Mercedes because we've had a lot of ups and downs with her as documented here on the channel. When she first signed with AEW, it was rocky. She came in as a babyface, didn't have her promos down, didn't have her character down, and obviously couldn't work because she was still recovering from injury. But in, I don't know, the last 6 months or so, she's really got this character dialed in and she's got some serious heat going on in terms of character work, her promos, and her matches are absolutely fire. Well, I think there's a few things that they're doing right with her, including what they have going forward with her, right? Because we all know that the Britt Baker feud that she had leading into All In last year, well, that that was interesting because the build was good, but like the match sucked, right? And you could blame it on Mercedes, you could blame it on Britt Baker. I personally blame it on the fact that they were working a stadium and the fans just weren't into what they were selling that night, and it didn't work. But her Chris Statlander feud in November and December really did well. Now, we know, and we found out this week on AEW Dynamite, that Mercedes Moné will be working the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. And we do know that she's going to be facing Julia Hart at Dynasty this Sunday night, which is an absolute banger of a match. I love the fact that we're getting Mercedes Moné and Julia. I love the fact that we're going to get it on pay per view because these two girls are going to get a ton of time and they're going to be able to tell a story. This is a really good feud. And even though Julia will lose this match, she should get a rub from Mercedes, and hopefully AEW can capitalize going forward with her. So I love that. Now, keep in mind that the end of this tournament will occur at Double or Nothing on May 25th, where the two bracket winners will vie for the tournament crown. Well, what does that mean if you win this tournament? Well, that leads me to my next point that I like what they're doing. So they're already starting off hot by having Mercedes Moné in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. It's a prestigious tournament, and they take it very seriously, and there's big prizes up for it. So we get that in her tournament involvement. That's good. We're getting her and Julia Hart right out of the gate. I love it. Now let's go forward. So she's going to win this tournament. That is the expectation among most wrestling fans. I think we can all agree with that. She's going to win the tournament. And step number 3, now she's going to go and she's going to face timeless Tony Storm for the AEW Women's Championship at All In. So she's going to continue her storyline, her evolution, her progression as the quote unquote belt collector, right? She holds it in New Japan, AEW, Rev Pro, I believe. So she's going to keep going after more titles. And on paper, right now, Mercedes Moné versus timeless Tony Storm is the biggest female match, I think, that AEW can make right now, right? Mercedes Moné, top tier star, one of your bigger stars in all of the promotion, and obviously the TBS champion. Timeless Tony Storm, her and Swerve Strickland and MJF are the top 3 most over acts. Ospreay, of course. So let's say top 4 acts in all of AEW. So now you're going to put your 2 biggest female stars on your biggest show of the year. Yeah, that's money. I like that. I think that's a great idea. So now we just elevated things. Now we just took things to another level, and now we're going to get a top tier match. So that's 3. Now let's go to 4. So AEW is reportedly planning to do a match with Mercedes Moné and Athena sometimes this year. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, he came out with a report this week talking about how this was the match that has been in AEW's plans for quite some time to do in 2025, right? And at first, the match was considered, well, we could do it at Dynasty. And then there was speculation, okay, they're going to do it at Dynasty, right? They had a recent in-ring face-off. Well, we're not going to get that, obviously, right? There's different plans. And then, well, the assumption was, well, we're going to do it all in Texas, given Athena's regional ties. However, sources suggested alternative creative directions are being explored for that event. Monet and Athena's placement in the same Owen Hart Foundation tournament was not consequential, right? Or it wasn't done by a mistake, I should say, hinting at a deliberate build up to their match. Now, I don't think we're going to get Athena versus Mercedes Moné at all in, right? Like, that's just not going to work. One of those two are going to win that tournament. And I expect Monet to do it. Well, what I think is going to happen is, so now you're going to get Mercedes Monet versus Julia Hart at Dynasty. And I think we may get Athena versus Mercedes Monet at Double or Nothing, right? That's a big match. You don't want to necessarily put that on television. What if you did it like that? I think that's the route that you should go. If not, then you do it on TV. Or you save it for another day. Either way, think about the people that she's working with in the next few months. It's loaded, right? So Julia Hart, former TBS champion, a match that we did not get because Julia Hart got injured and had to vacate the title, or not vacate the title, but drop the title to Willow Nightingale last year. Why did we not get Hart, who was super duper over at the time, versus Mercedes Monet? Why did Hart not drop the TBS title to Mercedes Monet? And why did Willow Nightingale drop the TBS title to Mercedes Monet instead? Well, Mercedes Monet was not medically cleared to work. She was not medically cleared to do that. And so what happened? Well, they had to go with Hart dropping the title to Willow, and then Willow dropping it to Monet, which worked out fine considering that it was Willow Nightingale who shared the squared ring, or squared circle, with Mercedes Monet when Monet got injured in New Japan. So that works out. It's fine. It's dandy. It's great, right? That worked out. Well, now we're going to get Julia Hart versus Mercedes Monet. We're finally going to get that match, and we're going to finally get it when Monet is healthy and Hart is healthy. Hart is not as over as she once was. I think that's a mistake, but she is still so young. I think she's 23 last time I checked, maybe 24. Super, super young, has a lot of potential, high ceiling in this industry, and think she's going to be a fantastic star. And then you obviously get the Monet versus Athena match, which I expect to happen at Double or Nothing. If not, you're still going to get it. And then you're going to get Mercedes Monet and Timeless Tony Storm on July 12th, I think it is, at in Texas, which is going to have an earlier start time, by the way. So they announced this week that it was going to go from prime time, which would have been head to head with WWE Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC, right? Not great optics, considering that AEW is trying to load up a stadium type card, not selling tickets very well, unfortunately, and going to be going up against WWE on NBC, right? Optically, not great. So they moved it up. It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern for the main card. Keep that in mind, main card. That ain't pre-show. Pre-show starts an hour earlier. That'll go at least an hour, if not earlier. Dave Meltzer, he reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that this show is going to go well past 4 hours just for the main card. They try to keep it 4 and under. Sometimes they'll go over a little bit, but this is going to be a 5-hour main card. It's going to be like a 7-hour show. It's going to be so long. But anyway, that is what's going on with Mercedes Mone.